Oh yeah, that's more like it. So The Exorcist III tells the story of a police investigator looking into current murders that mirror those of a killer who was executed 15 years ago. Carrying on with the Exorcist franchise review series, everybody, for those that do not know, The Exorcist will be a part of this year's 31 on 31, which is coming up very close. And much like pretty much all of the sequels in this franchise, you never really hear too many people talk about this movie. You never hear anybody shouting the praises of Exorcist 3 or saying that it's terrible. I mean, The Exorcist 2 has a bit of a reputation for being one of the most garbage sequels ever, so you almost hear about that one more than you hear about this one. I saw this once as a kid. I remember it being very creepy, but then again, my memories of the first Exorcist was also a huge time gap from now. So I was curious what my thoughts were going to be on this film, watching it as an adult, watching it immediately after the first Exorcist movie, and how that was all going to change with my current thoughts of this film. Well, go ahead and load up your shotguns, go ahead and light your torches, get your pitchforks ready, because as an adult, this is the better Exorcist movie, for me personally. This is much more on my wavelength. If you have not already seen my review of the original Exorcist, check that out. I'll try to post a card up here if I remember, but nonetheless, it's a movie that I respect more than I've ever enjoyed. I understand why it has the legacy that it has, but possession movies, Exorcist movies have never really been my thing. And that's probably one of the reasons why I much prefer this sequel, because I would liken The Exorcist III much more to like a psychological murder mystery than I would an Exorcist film. I would actually say The Exorcist III has more in common with films like Seven than it does with the original Exorcist. And after the shitstorm that Exorcist II was, that was probably the best direction to go as far as trying to continue the story of that original film, is just to go a wildly different direction. And starting off with the positives, the main thing that I really do love about this movie is the murder mystery side of things, that police investigation, that slow peeling back of the onion of finding the victims and putting the pieces together and figuring out that the modus operandi is very, very almost identical to the Gemini killer that's been dead for 15 years, and eventually leading him to this hospital and this asylum, and eventually leading to the reveal of that one patient that they don't want to talk about that's locked up in a room, and finding out the identity of that. Like, everything involved with the murder mystery and figuring out what the hell is going on with this locked off patient and what does he have to do with these current murders. I thought that that was just a brilliant story.
Are they calling these Gemini killings in the papers? You must get them to do that, Lieutenant. It's important.
The Gemini is dead.
No, I am not! I'm alive!
And one of the more genius aspects to that is that it's a very good murder mystery story. It's a very good psychological horror, psychological thriller themed murder mystery and the way that they go about it, but it's also a really genius way to tie itself back to the first film without just having another Exorcist movie or another exorcism or, you know, here we are, we're doing it again, now this chick's possessed. That could be a very tried and true way to maybe get asses in seats, is just to do the same thing again. But the way that they went about it here, with having Father Karras be the vessel for this reincarnated Gemini killer, was just such a great way to tie back to a lot of the themes and the ending of the first film while telling their own unique story that's not just blueprinted from the success of the first film. I thought it added to the creepiness of the reveals. I thought that it added to the tragedy of Father Karras and actually kind of retroactively makes me like his story arc more in the first film, which was kind of one of the things I was a little mixed on. The way that they carry through it here and just added the fact that now he's just being forced to watch all these grisly murders that this Gemini killer's spirit is enacting in his body, that is just basically a zombie at this point. Like, he tried to kill himself to get himself out of this situation, and now he's being used in potentially an even worse situation. That adds a lot to that character, and I thought that that was just an awesome way to continue that story, continue his arc, and make it even more compelling for me personally. And hinged all in what I just said is the incredible performance by Brad Dourif.
Is the torment of your friend, Father Karras, as he watches while I rip and cut and mutilate the innocent.
Now, you guys know I am Chucky all the way. I am a Chucky fanatic. I love Brad Dourif. He is one of my horror icons. He is fucking awesome in this movie.
He is inside with us! He will never get away! His pain won't end!
Like, this might be his best performance. It's certainly one of them. Like, there's this whole scene where you see Father Karras, and the investigator, the main protagonist of the story, is talking to him and trying to figure out, like, is this really Father Karras? Is this just a lookalike? What's going on? And whenever he's pressing him to get the papers to call these new murders Gemini killers, and he keeps kind of pushing back, and then you finally get that reveal of Brad Dourif as the Gemini killer who's inside of Father Karras. Like, his performance whenever he goes to all these different ranges of anger, to these sadistic little lines that he's given about the details of the murder, he is so damn good that they didn't need to show you a single piece of these murders, which is another great thing about this, is that it really just puts all of the details in your head. They didn't need to show you a single gory detail of what he has done. They could have just let Brad Dourif describe what he is doing, and it is bone-chilling enough without a single drop of blood shown on screen.
A decapitated head can continue to see for approximately 20 seconds. So when I have one that's cocking, I always hold it up so that it can see its body.
And through the second and third act, once you kind of figure out what's going on, once you realize that the Gemini killer and Father Karras are one, and that's what's going on, how is he able to escape his cell and go and enact these murders, and what is his motive for doing all these murders, what's his end game, and then figuring out how the hell they're going to eventually stop this guy. It just makes for a movie that just constantly is raising the stakes, raising the tension, making it to where it just constantly evolves throughout the runtime of this movie to where you don't know where the hell things are going. It's such a crazy thrill ride that all the way through to the credits rolling, you're just on the edge of your seat watching to see what is going to happen. And for me personally, this movie is way creepier than any of the other Exorcist movies. Now, I know that that is a bold statement. The Exorcist is known for the most part as being the scariest movie of all time for a lot of people. Totally respect that opinion. It's not really a movie that creeps me out all that much. Never has been, even as a kid. The Exorcist III, something about the tone of the movie, the slow reveal, the subject matter of these murders. I mean, even just seeing the gnarly ass weapon that this Gemini killer is apparently using, like this fucked up chrome hedge clipper thing, is just wicked as hell. All the way to what might be the greatest jump scare of all time. I'm somebody that, I'm not a gigantic fan of jump scares, especially nowadays when they're really overused and they kind of become the crutch of a lot of modern horror films, but there are some genuinely great ones out there. I often talk about the blood test scene in John Carpenter's The Thing as being possibly the greatest one. If it's not, it's this one. I mean, just this still camera tripod shot inside this hallway of this hospital that goes on for like a steady 4 or 5 minutes, it feels like, and you just see people constantly coming in and out of the shot. It gives you this false sense of security for the nurse that is the center of this entire scene, to where you don't feel like, because of everything going on, all the people around, that anything is going to happen. Nobody's going to kill her with other people around. We're good. We're safe. I don't know what we're sitting here doing, but I have this very false sense of security. Everything's going to be fine. Holy shit, what was that? Just the genius way that they formulate this scene and set it up and then pay it off without showing you anything. Just the statue, the headless statue sitting here like this, tells you everything that you need to know about what you did not see. And there's not a single person, I would doubt that there is a single horror fan out there that would see that and be like, yeah, if they would have showed it, it would have been better. No, that's pure brilliance. That is pure horror brilliance in The Exorcist III. And I've said this about other movies, I'm genuinely creeped out by the hospital setting. Like, I just don't like going to doctors and hospitals. I haven't had like a traumatic experience, but just something about it always puts me off. And when you add the horror tone of a movie like this to it, it bathes that setting that already kind of has me uneasy in just ickiness. Everything about the hospital setting in a horror movie, whether it be Dream Warriors or this or Halloween 2, the hospital setting always intensifies whatever they're trying to do as far as getting emotions out of me personally. And The Exorcist III does it as good as any of them. Moving on to the mixed elements, there really is only one thing that I'm kind of torn on, and for context's sake, I only watched the theatrical cut of this movie. I know that there's a director's cut out there somewhere. God knows, who knows. Maybe I have it in this fucking Blu-ray collection over here that I have way too many Blu-rays in. Maybe there's a director's cut that I need to watch. But the cut that I watched, the third act of the movie ends with this exorcism scene where you have another priest come in and tries to expel the evil spirit of the Gemini killer and save the soul of Father Karras. And I don't know what it is about it. Like, it makes sense for an exorcist movie to have an exorcism in it, but because this movie was so different and took such a different approach, to kind of come back at that at the end as yet again your climax, it almost felt obligatory. It didn't feel like the natural closing of this movie. I felt like there was a better, more thematically rich, or a more badass way to close out this story than just having another priest that comes in and, you know, throws holy water and says some words out of the Bible and now we're all safe again. Something about it. I didn't hate it. It definitely is an intense scene with all the visuals going on and Father Karras coming up on the cross with all the spirits and the demons and everything around him. It's some cool visual shit going on, but something about it just felt like a second version of this ending or something that was mandated by the studio. There's just something about it that doesn't quite sit well with me. Now moving on to the negatives. Now this is a small negative because I think that the movie ratchets it up all the way through to the end to a point where I can appreciate the slow start. The first act of this movie does meander quite a bit. Before you start getting into the reveals of what's going on and you start having these conversations between the Gemini killer and the lead investigator and all of that, the first act where you're pretty much just walking around talking to priests and, you know, getting an idea of these murders, and there's a lot of talking, a lot of exposition, it does drag quite a bit compared to the intensity of the second and the third act. And finally, the biggest thing that stood out to this movie, which again, you know, maybe it's just a theatrical cut issue. I have not done any research on the changes in the director's cut. There's a dream sequence in this movie that is so fucking weird that it literally looks like it's from a completely different movie. There's a scene where he just goes to sleep and then he wakes up and just the dialogue exchange, I mean, he's talking to a kid and it's just, it looks like it's something off of like Sesame Street. It's just got such a weird jovial tone to it. It's jarring as hell. I don't know what thematically or what they were trying to foreshadow with that or what symbolism might have been in that dream sequence that they were going for. I didn't get any of that. I just laughed out loud. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Is this what this movie's gonna be? And then the movie never went back to anything like that ever again. So you could yank that entire sequence out of the movie for me. It's much better without it. Just do it. Just do it. But all in all, guys, I really enjoyed Exorcist III. I think that maybe the horrible reputation of Exorcist II has scared a lot of people away from watching this, or maybe just the legacy of the first movie is just so strong that all the sequels not having much of a legacy has made people not really jump out to get it. I'm here to tell you, if you like the Exorcist franchise, or if you like murder mysteries, or if you like psychological thrillers, psychological horror movies, you need to give Exorcist III a chance, because this is absolutely a hidden gem within this franchise. And though I know I'm going to be on an island with it, thus far, this is my favorite movie in this franchise. So if you like psychological thrillers, murder mysteries, or if you're just a Brad Dourif fanatic like me and want to see him go bananas, The Exorcist III is an awesome addition to the Exorcist franchise. So definitely check this thing out. And whenever you find the Scream Factory release or a damn good release on that level, go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of The Exorcist III? Are you a fan of this sequel? Do you not like the direction it went and you just want your straightforward, tried and true Exorcist movie? Do you feel like the third act gets a little weird, or do you like the fact that they bring the Exorcist stuff back in? And how different is the director's cut? Do I need to watch that? Is it a huge difference, or is it just a couple added scenes? Let me know down below, guys, and get prepared because we have 2 more movies in this franchise to talk about before we move on to the insanity that is about to be the month of October. You might get a video or 2 every single day in the month of October. There is so much to talk about. So please hit the subscribe button so that you do not miss any of that. The rest of this review series, the 31 on 31 ranking at the end of this October at Halloween, Halloween Kills, all of that good stuff coming your way. The Chucky TV series, we're talking about Chucky, baby. Brad Dourif, I love you. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video to help it out, to help me out. And as always, guys, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.